Hello, I'm Tilly Douglas, and today I want to show you how I make these really cute little sunshines. I absolutely love these. They are one of my top sellers, and as I'm doing this little series of the things that I sell on my craft fairs that I've sold over the years and have been consistently good sellers, these are part of that series because they sell so well, and they are really quick to make up, and they don't cost very much to make at all because you just use a tiny little bit of yarn, the little safety eyes, or you can actually sew the eyes on with black cotton instead of using the safety eyes, and a little keychain. So they're really inexpensive to make, they don't take very long at all, and they sell really well. So my previous video was how I made these little rainbows. These are my #1 bestseller. I just sell tons of them, and they're really good sellers. And these are the little tags that I make, so you can just hang them by the tags, and it just finishes them off nicely. So lots of different styles of tags. These are on my Etsy shop, so you can print out as many as you want. It's a digital, so you can just go and get the design, and it's a PDF, and you can print out as many as you want. But don't they finish them off nicely? I think they just look fabulous. So I've also got those for the sunshines as well. So I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop in the description below. Now we'll just crack straight on and start making these. So I'm going to use two slightly different colour yarns today, because I use the lighter yarn in the centre and then the darker yarn for the little sun rays. But you can use one, it doesn't matter. If you've got one yellow, then it really doesn't matter. And I'm using paint box yarns. It's 100% cotton, and it's a lovely yarn. And this is buttercup yellow, and this is mustard. So we're going to put the mustard to one side, and we're going to start with the buttercup yellow. So I do apologise if there's noise. There's a storm going over the top of us at the moment, and it is chucking it down with rain. So I'm using a 3mm crochet hook. So I'm going to start off by doing a magic circle. So this is how I do mine, but if you really can't do a magic circle, you could always chain 4 and then slip stitch into the first chain, and make a little loop and work into that. But I've just got a magic circle, then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do 5 single crochet into this loop, and I'm using US crochet terms. So 5 single crochet, so into the loop, grab the yarn and pull it through, yarn over and pull it through. That's our 5 single crochet. Then we're just going to tighten that up a bit and slip stitch into that very first stitch, which is this one here, not this one where the chain was. So if you're not sure, just count back, count the little V's, 1 2 3 4 5, so into this one here, and slip stitch into that. Then we're going to chain 1, and then into the next stitch we're going to do 2 single crochet, and then we're going to, just to keep an eye on making sure we get into the right stitch, we're just going to put a stitch marker into that very first single crochet that we've just done. So we've just done 2 single crochet, make sure it's into the first one, and then we're going to do 2 single crochet in all those stitches around. So at the end of this round we'll have 10 single crochet. So there's our 10 single crochet. Then we're going to take that stitch marker out of there, and we're going to slip stitch into that stitch where the stitch marker was. So that's our first single crochet of the round. So slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 single crochet in that next stitch. And then we're going to put our stitch marker back in into the first single crochet, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 in the next one. And we're going to continue that sequence all the way around, and at the end of this round we will have 15 stitches. And I'm going to take that stitch marker out just the same as before and slip stitch into the stitch where we took the stitch marker out, which was the first single crochet of the round. Then I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to do 2 single crochet in that first stitch, put our stitch marker back in, so we've got 2 single crochet in our first stitch, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and 2 single crochet in the next one, and 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we're going to continue that sequence all the way around, and at the end of this round we will have 20 single crochet. So at the end of this round we're going to take the stitch marker out and slip stitch into that stitch, and then this is going to be our last round for this one. So we're going to chain 1, 2 single crochets in the first stitch, put a stitch marker back in. Now if you're happy to not use the stitch marker, just go ahead and keep going around doing your rounds without having to use it. It's entirely up to you. So this time we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we've got 2 single crochet in the first, and then we're going to do 1, 1 and 1, and 2 single crochet in the next one, and we'll then 1 single crochet in the next 3, and at the end of this round we'll have 25 single crochet. And we're going to take our stitch marker out and slip stitch into the same stitch, the first single crochet of the round. And that was our final one. So we're going to pull that yarn through a little bit, snip it off. Now you do need 2 of these, so obviously 1 for either side. So I don't sew these ends in. What I do is I take the easy option and I tie these ends together, being careful not to do this too tight because we've got to crochet into those later. But the first knot I do fairly loose, and then I do 2 more knots. A bit tighter with that one, and then tight with the last one. Make sure you tie your knots on the back, and then I just snip those off so they don't get in the way later. And I use these yarn ends for stuffing. So we're going to need 2 of these, so I'll crack on and make another one, and I'll meet you back when I've made it. So there's our 2 rounds all finished. Now where the join is, you can see it, so I tend to put that to the bottom. And now we're going to put the face on. Now I use these little safety eyes, little back, and I think these are 6mm ones, 6mm, And then I did use some bigger ones, these ones, which I thought was a bit big. So I changed them. I've got all sorts of different sizes of eyes, and I put these size on. So I believe they're 6mm and these are 8mm. So it's up to you which ones you use. They both look nice actually, but it's entirely up to you which ones you use. I'll put a link below this video to the ones that I use. So these are the 6mm. Now I tend to put the eye in the second row. So you've got a row of holes across here and a row of holes across here, and I go in there. So what I do before I put the back on, I just poke it through the hole, and then I line up the next one and poke that through the hole, just to make sure I'm happy with the position, like that. And when I'm happy with it, I put the backs on, because once these backs are on, you can't get them off. So they are quite tough to get on. A couple of clicks and it's on there. Get the other one on. So that's the two eyes on the back, and there's the front. So to do the mouth, I've got the red thread, and we're just going to come up through one of these holes like this. So come through the back. Very easy to do these, so don't worry if you can't sew very well. Ever so easy. Leave a little tail because we're going to use that to tie it off. Then we're going to go across the other side and into a hole. So I like to do it, if I can, the same sort of distance between the eyes. And then we're going to go into a hole at the bottom. It's kind of centre if you can, but they don't always work out to be in the centre. So try and go into that little bit there, pull it through, holding on to your tail end because you don't want to pull that through. Now all we're going to do is go through that thread at the bottom, take it over the top and back into that same hole. Pull it through, and there's our little smiley mouth. And all we have to do then is tie that off. So 3 knots. I always like to do 3 knots. 1, 2 and 3. And there's our little face finished. Simples. So snip that off, and that's ready to do the next one. Now we're going to join them together and do our petals. So what I like to do is, where I've got this join at the bottom here, you put both the backs together. So I'm going to use mustard yellow, line those two up where the joins are in your crochet rounds, and I'm going to go into the first stitch after the join through both sides and all 4 loops. Grab the yarn and pull it through, chain 1. Now we're going to start making the little sun rays. So we're going to do a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over into the next stitch through all 4 of those loops, so both sides, yarn over and pull that through. So we've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull it through all 3. So we're going to do a double crochet now, so into the same stitch as we did that half double. So we're going to yarn over into the same stitch through all those layers, grab the yarn and pull it through. You've got 3 loops on your hook, you yarn over and pull it through 2 of the loops on the hook. So then you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull it through both those loops. And now we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of these stitches here. So right into those 2 front loops. So I've got a chain, and at the bottom of the chain you've got 2 little loops there, and we're going to slip stitch through there. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over into the next stitch through all those layers, make sure you get all the loops. Grab the yarn, pull it through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull it through 2, yarn over and pull it through 2. And now we're going to do a half double crochet into that same stitch. So yarn over into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull it through all 3. And into the next stitch we're going to do a slip stitch. So into all those loops and do a slip stitch. And that's our first little sun ray done. We're going to continue that all the way around, and we will have 8 little sun rays. So we're going to do that process again. So our last one was a slip stitch, so we're going to go in the next stitch and do a half double crochet. So yarn over into those stitches, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull it through all those loops. And the next one is a double crochet into the same stitch. And then I'm going to make the little pointy bit. So we're going to chain 3, and do a slip stitch into those 2 front loops there. And then in the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet, and then a half double crochet, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. So we're going to do that all the way around, but we're going to leave a little gap so we can put the stuffing in before we continue it. So we're going to do a half double crochet, a double crochet, chain 3, slip stitch into those front loops, a double crochet in the next stitch, and then a half double crochet in the same stitch, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. So before we close up this gap, we're going to stuff it, and I've got some toy filler here so I can use that. So we're going to stuff it with this, and just be careful of those backs of the eyes, make sure you don't hurt your fingers on them. And I like to put plenty behind those little eye things too, so they don't come out the back, because these are only little things, aren't they? There. Now I just poke it down with the end of my crochet hook to get it out of the way, and then we can finish off closing that gap. So this is where the joins were on the round, so you've just got to find where you want your stitch to go, slip stitch into there, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the base of that first little sunshine ray, just to pull it across so we don't have a gap. We're going to pull that through a little bit. I want a little bit of a tail because we've got to sew it in with that. And you can see this gap here is bigger than the other gaps. So we're just going to pull it across a bit and then go in at the bottom and out the other side there. You don't have to be exact with this. And then just pull it through. And just pull it a little bit tight. Then put another stitch in there to hold it. And pull it tight. You can see that's closed it up. And then we're going to tie this off by going into the body of the sun and out of one of these holes. And then back through and out another. So back through into the same hole that you just come out of. Back through and out of another hole. Back into the same hole. This ties these yarn ends off really well because it goes through all the stuffing. So it's weaving its way through. So that's all the ends weaved in, and that's it all finished. We've just got to attach the little keychain to it, and it's looking fabulous, super cute. So I've got some different types of keychains here, so you just use whichever ones you prefer. I'm going to use this one. So I've got my needle and my yarn threaded onto it. Now I'm going to go into the back of the body first of all and pull that yarn through, not so it comes out, and then back into the same hole and go through the body again, and then back up. I mean, you can do this when you're sewing your yarn end in as well. You can just carry straight on and sew this keychain on if you want to. That's what I tend to do. So I'm just going to do a couple of knots there. Don't just go through one stitch, make sure you're going through a couple of those stitches so it's nice and secure. Then we're going to go through this little keychain and back through. And then just pull it tight. And then back through the keychain, through the front, and do that a few times just to make it nice and secure. And now all we've got to do is to weave in this end, so just take it down through there into the body of the sun and pull it out one of those holes, just the same as we did before, and then sew that end in a couple of times. Snip it off. That's the keychain all finished. So the final step I do is to put on one of these little cards. So this is the sort of card that I would put this on, because I just punch a hole and put it through like that. But if you're using this sort of keyring that you want it to hang on, then I use this sort, which are these type. So you just cut around there, punch the two holes, and then just cut around there with your craft knife, so you can hang it like that. But for this one, I'll use one of these. Put those to one side. And all I do is punch the holes out where the dots are. and then hook that onto there like that. And that's where I hang it on my board when I'm selling my pegboard that I have to sell on. Doesn't that look fabulous? There's also written patterns on my blog for both of these as well at craftsspaceideas.com. So if you want the written pattern, it's got a couple of photos and also the video tutorial on there. So feel free to nip across to my blog and you'll have the pattern there for free. So please subscribe to my channel and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.